picture. This is Hotel Polisa in the city of Pripyat in Ukraine, and the picture was taken in 1984. The hotel was the tallest building at that time, and it served the delegations and guests that were coming to the city to visit the Chernobyl nuclear power plant. This is a picture taken probably like two years ago. It is like this how the hotel looks since 1986. The reason why it looks like that is because of the Chernobyl nuclear explosion. And so today I want to talk about the Chernobyl accident that happened in 1986, and I will cover 3 main points, such as history of Chernobyl accident, the Chernobyl after the nuclear disaster, and about the new safe confinement or new shelter. So to begin with, the Chernobyl nuclear power plant is located near to the city of Chernobyl and about 68 miles north of Kiev, the capital city of Ukraine. So it's right here. And the Chernobyl disaster was the largest environmental disaster of our time, which occurred at 1:23 a.m. on April 26, and the reactor number 4, as you can see in the picture, unit 4, was exploded. So what actually caused the explosion? On April 25th in 1986, the reactor 4 was going to run a test. It was to determine whether in power outage the turbines could produce enough energy to keep the cooling system working until the backup generators came online. But the test began in April 25th, but it was delayed for some reasons and continued about in 11 p.m. And when the operators were moved to shut down the reactor, they realized that the reactor was in extremely unstable conditions. And when they inserted into the reactor the control rod, it causes the explosion. As you can see, this is the reactor 4 during the explosion, and this is a picture taken inside the reactor after some time. So, because of the explosion, there was a huge release of radiation dust that rose to an altitude of 1,500 meters, and it caused the contamination of Belarus, Russia, and Ukraine, and also other European countries. It also caused the contamination of many other countries such as Scandinavia, the United Kingdom, and more. First, the Soviet leadership tried to hide the scale of the tragedy, and for 2 days they didn't tell the people that something happened in the world. And when the other European countries start to realize that they have the high radioactive readings, they start to contact the Soviet Union to find out what had happened. But Soviet Union denied any knowledge about the explosion, and only after 2 days they said that the reactor number 4 had been damaged. But the Soviet leader Mikhail Gorbachev finally addressed the nation only after 20 days after the explosion. And in his message he said that we spent the first days trying to get the picture. I can't agree that we were trying to conduct a sly policy and hide something. We realized the entire drama only later. So, after the worst nuclear disaster in history, Chernobyl, a former culture center, has become a ghost city, an abandoned city. And more than 25 years ago, after the nuclear disaster, the word Chernobyl still insists fear and concern. And before 1986, Chernobyl was a city. Since 1986, it has become a difficult lesson to learn. So, after the Chernobyl reactor exploded, the Soviet authorities created an exclusion zone within a radius of 19 miles and like 30 kilometers, which include mostly the part of Ukraine and Belarus. And about 130,000 people were evacuated from their settlements, and about 5 million people were affected by radioactive nuclides, and also a lot of other settlements were abandoned. To prevent the spread of radioactivity, the military construction workers and other specialists, they were working in totally unsuitable conditions. So they created a shelter, like because many parts of the reactor number 4 were thrown out of the reactor, and it was mostly some parts were in the neighboring reactor number 3rd, and also most of them were on the ground. So they put everything like in one place and just covered it with the sarcophagus that is called sarcophagus or shelter. And it was done after 6 months of the explosion. So now the exclusion zone still exists, but as many as 800 mostly elderly residents have illegally moved back to their villages there. As one woman said when the soldiers come to her house, she said, "You can either kill me, but I will never leave because motherland is motherland." So now for present days, in 1912, on the 26th anniversary of the Chernobyl nuclear disaster, Ukraine officially launched the construction of the building of the new radiation shell, called the new safe confinement. So basically, this is the new structures that will be covered the entire the current object. And it's being built distant from the object to avoid the exposure of the radiation for the construction workers. So it was the design was performed in 2012 and approved approximately in 2004. But there were a lot of delays, and the preparation construction just started in 2010. And the contract that is the company that is responsible for this is Novarka, which consists of the 2 largest French construction companies. So as Yanukovych said in his message, the president of Ukraine, that over this problem Ukraine has sensed a shoulder of friendship from most of the world countries, and it is true. So to the nuclear safety content, to the 2 funds that is covering the safety of the other 3 reactors, also the construction of the shelter, they received about 700 million to the interim storage facility, and about 1,400 million from 30 donors by the end of 2010. So this is basically a lot of money, and mostly the contributions come from the other countries, not from Ukraine. So the problem, as you can see, this is a progress made by now, and the shelter is expected to be completed by 2015. So, and as you can see, this is the construction workers, and this is the object right now. So it basically might be like this, and then on the rails it will be moved to cover the object. So to summarize, I want to say that as I said, the Chernobyl accident is the worst nuclear disaster of our time. Many people were supposed to leave their homes and move to the unknown places with having a little support. It causes psychological problems, and as a consequence, deterioration in public health and quality of life. Also, 7 million people are now receiving or eligible for benefits as Chernobyl victims. And also by 2001, about 4,000 cases of thyroid cancer have been diagnosed in exposed children. And my final point, you can visit the Chernobyl exclusion zone if you want. Don't worry, you don't have to worry this, I just exaggerate a little bit. But so if you're interested, you can visit the website. And so regular tour is about $150 to $100, and you can have a private tour, so you can even go there by yourself. Also, you can have order the lunch and meeting self-settlers and sightseeing the reactor number 4 and visiting much more interesting places. Yes, thank you for listening.